சென்னையில ஃப்ளட் வந்த மாதிரியே லூனல் அப்படிங்கிற இந்த ஊர்லயும் ஃப்ளட் வந்துச்சுங்க. அதை பத்தி கூகுள் சர்ச் பண்ணா நம்மளுக்கு சில நியூஸ்லாம் வருது. அதுல ஒரு நியூஸ் பாத்தீங்கன்னா, ரெண்டு நியூஸ், கிட்டத்தட்ட ரெண்டு நியூஸும் ஒரே நியூஸ் தான். அதுல என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா, பிரெஞ்ச் உமன் சர்வைவ்ஸ் ஆஃப்டர் பீயிங் ட்ராப்ட் இன் ஃப்ளட்டட் சீவர்ஸ். இந்த மாதிரி ஃப்ளட் 2003 பிரான்ஸ்ல வந்திருக்கு. அப்ப ஒரு பிரெஞ்சு உமன் என்ன பண்ணிருக்காங்கன்னா, வீட்டை விட்டு வெளியே வந்திருக்காங்க. ஆனா உடனே she disappeared beneath the water. தண்ணிக்குள்ள போய் காணாம போயிட்டாங்க. அந்த உமனுக்கு என்ன நடந்துச்சு அப்படிங்கறத இந்த கதை கேட்கலாமா?
Come on, we've got to get out of here now, Serge urged his partner Celine. Flood water that had poured into their little terraced home was already 30 centimeters deep and rising. The couple had lifted the sofa onto the dining table and stacked as many other possessions as they could out of the reach of the filthy water. It was 2:15 p.m. on Monday, September 22, 2003, and the small town of Lunel in southern France had been battered by violent storms since mid-morning. Council workers.
ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பேராகிராஃப் இப்ப கேட்டீங்க. என்ன சொல்றாங்க அப்படின்னா, செர்ஜ் அப்படிங்கிறவர் அவரோட பார்ட்னர் செலின் அப்படிங்கிறவர் அவங்க சீக்கிரமா நம்ம வெளியே போலாமா அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு முழுகிட்டு இருக்கிற வீட்ல இருந்து வெளியே கூட்டிட்டு வராரு. ஏன்னா வாட்டர் லிட்டில் டெரேஸ்டு ஹோம் உள்ள ஆல்ரெடி 30 சென்டிமீட்டர்ஸ் டீப் அண்ட் ரைசிங். 30 சென்டிமீட்டருக்கு மேல ரைஸ் ஆயிட்டு இருக்கு ஃப்ளட் வாட்டர். The couple had lifted the sofa onto the dining table. Dining table மேல sofa எடுத்து போட்டு stacked as many other possessions as they could out of the reach of the filthy water. Things எல்லாத்தையும் எடுத்து valuable possessions எல்லாம் எடுத்து அந்த sofa மேல டேபிள் மேல போட்டுட்டு தண்ணி படாம மேல வச்சுட்டு வெளியே வந்துடுறாங்க. அதாவது மதியம் ஒரு 2:15க்கு லூனல் அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு பிளேஸ்ல சதர்ன் பிரான்ஸ்ல இருக்கிற அங்க வயலண்ட் ஸ்டார்ம்ஸ் மண்டே மிட் மார்னிங்ல இருந்து வந்துட்டு இருக்கு. சோ அதுக்கடுத்து என்ன நடக்குதுன்னு பார்க்கலாமே. இப்ப இந்த ஸ்டோரியை நான் இந்த மாதிரி குட்டி குட்டியா எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணிட்டே இருந்தேன்னா ரொம்ப லேட் ஆகும். அதனால நீங்க லிசன் பண்ணுங்க.
Council worker Serge, 43 and 32-year-old Celine, a home help, had lived most of their lives in Lunel, which stands only a few meters above sea level. The flat marshy area floods frequently. This was the second time in just over a year that the couple had found the home invaded by water. Serge and Celine stepped out into the street, now a fast-flowing thigh-high river. They waited across the road and Celine stepped over a low hedge which separated the street from the pavement. Serge was following close behind when he saw Celine fall. In an instant she had disappeared below the water. She's dead, he thought. It's all over. All they'll find is her body later. Celine felt herself being pulled under the water. Instinctively, she reached out for Sergei's hand. She felt his grasp, but her relief was short-lived as his hand slipped away. She couldn't understand what was happening. She was being swept along underwater, helpless, and swallowing mouthfuls of the filthy liquid. She couldn't breathe, and was going to die, she thought. I am drowning. There's no way I can survive this. Then she found that she could breathe again. In the dim light she could see that she was about 10 meters from the manhole through which she had plunged, but the current made it impossible to swim back. Page 96. She was in a 2-meter wide concrete storm drain which was almost completely filled with water, and it was still rising. Across the drain stretched a small plastic pipe. Further on, the tunnel was completely black. I've got to try to grab that pipe, Celine thought. I have got to keep myself as high out of the water as I can. Slippery though it was, she managed to grasp the pipe. With a supreme effort she pulled the upper part of her body out of the water and maneuvered herself against the wall to stop herself being swept further along the drain. Above ground, Serge panicked. Help, help, he cried, wading as fast as he could to his nearest neighbor's house. Quick, Celine's been sucked down a drain. I've got to go back. I have got to get her out. No, said Louise Martinez, who lived opposite the couple. We'll ring the fire brigade. Drenched in freezing cold, Celine hung on. Thoughts came to her almost like photographs. She could see her daughter Amandine turning to blow her a kiss as she hurried into school. I'll never see I've got to survive. And then there was Serge. She thought of the squabble they'd had that morning. Now all she could think of was that Serge would have to tell Amandine that her mother was dead. How will he tell her? She wondered. It didn't bear thinking about. She couldn't let it happen. I've got to fight to the very end. The firemen finally managed to battle through the floods about an hour after they had received the call alerting them to Celine's disappearance. They shone torches down the manhole and probed with metal rods, but there was no sign of the missing woman. Page number 97. As she hung from the pipe, Celine saw a bright light. It was the firemen, she realized, shining powerful torches down the manhole. She started tapping on the pipe and battering the walls with her hands and arms. I'm here, she shouted. Come and get me out. She watched as the firemen lowered metal rods, and she tried hard to shout above the noise of the racing water. Then, to her astonishment and anger, the lights and rods disappeared. It was black now in the rain, and she felt objects smashing against her bags, branches, the contents of bins, all swept away in the flood. Unable to feel her legs, she knew she couldn't hold on to the pipe any longer. I've got to do something, she thought. The water level had dropped to her chest. There's got to be an exit further on, she reckoned. All this water has got to go somewhere. Perhaps there's a grill. If it was shut, she could be smashed to pieces against it, but if it was, she would be free. She had to find out. After a while, she was able to touch the bottom of the drain with her feet. The pipe had narrowed. Her hopes rose until suddenly her face smashed against something hard protruding from the wall, an iron bar. Celine lost consciousness for a moment and came round to find herself once more going under. At the same time, she could feel something above her. Seemed to be pieces of plastic hanging down from the roof. She grabbed one. Soon the water picked up speed. The current became more and more difficult to resist, and Celine could no longer walk. Forced onto her back, she once again felt herself being sucked along, out of control. She couldn't hold onto the plastic any longer. She felt her body being thrown around by the water, turning over and over in the icy deluge. Her shoulder, then her legs and knees slammed against the concrete wall. Still being buffeted by the terrifying force of the storm water, Celine not immediately realized that she was in the open air. Night was falling. Then reality hit her. I'm outside. I'm outside, she thought jubilantly. Page 98. She was in a ditch whose water had overflowed into a large flooded area, with houses on one, iron fields on the other. She grabbed some tufts of grass and reeds, but still unable to lift herself out of the torrent, she screamed for help. Above the roaring of the water, she heard a man's voice. Jack Poderoso, a 45-year-old teacher, was standing on concrete platform just above the storm drain exit, checking that his daughter's horse was all right. There's someone down there, he shouted. Yes, I'm here, Celine yelled back. What's the time? 7 p.m., he replied. Celine was amazed. Have I been down here for 5 hours? She shouted. Tell him I'm alive. He thinks I'm dead. Jack could see that the woman was weak and still in danger. No, calm down. You've got to get out of that river. Celine managed to heave herself onto the muddy bank, but there was still no way Jack could force Celine to give him Sergei's number, repeating it figure by figure above the waters. When nobody answered, Celine managed to recall Sergei's brother's number. Headache, but urged on by Jack, she dragged herself to her feet. Then she heard another voice, inquiring, where's the body? It was a fireman bearing a bag. It was after 8 p.m. when Serge arrived at Lennell's fire station. A fire engine pulled up outside. The doors opened. Inside sat Celine, her hair wet and bedraggled, her face battered. She had no voice left. She could only collapse, weeping into Sergei's arms. No one can understand how Celine survived. She has her own theory. When Elle wants something, I'm very determined. I wanted to be there for my daughter and for Serge. Adapted from the Reader's Digest, December